The line between biology and technology is gone. Your body isn't just like a computer, it functions like one, is treated like one, and in many ways is more vulnerable than one. And if you've ever felt like you were being influenced, tracked, nudged, or optimized without really knowing how, it's because you are. Your biology has already been converted into code, and that code is being analyzed, targeted, and in some cases, exploited by design. So the real question isn't if your body can be hacked, it's how and where it already has been. Let's start by breaking down the stack. You've probably heard it before. Your body is like a computer. But what if we stop treating that like a metaphor and start treating it like an attack surface? Because if you look under the hood of modern bio-cybersecurity research, here's what you'll find. Your biology is being modeled, mapped, and manipulated using the exact frameworks we use to secure digital systems. This is already how your genome gets stored, how biotech software compiles protein expressions, and how hackers test exploits. So let's reframe the human system using the language of cybersecurity. Because this is a roadmap for how your biology is already being treated like code. So your DNA, that is your source code. You have 3 billion base pairs turned into digital files stored in databases and vulnerable to breaches just like any other sensitive data. And once it's out there, you can't change it. There's no reset button or patch for your biology. You can think of your brain as your CPU and operating system. It processes everything that you see, hear, and feel, media, language, chemicals, and executes behaviors based on those inputs. If you can hijack the inputs, you can also hijack the output. Emotions are your user interface, the reactive layer that shows you how your system is running. It's not just feelings, it's real-time telemetry that can be manipulated. Food and pharma are like third-party software. They're external code that you ingest. Sometimes it patches vulnerabilities, but sometimes it installs spyware that you didn't ask for. Your immune system is your antivirus and firewall. It filters out threats and keeps the system stable until something slips. Social inputs, those are like script injections. Every ad, every post, every little like is a line of code trying to run on your mental stack. And behavior, that's your output logs. Every action you take gets logged by someone, your apps, your wearables, your smart fridge, and then fed back to fine-tune the next wave of manipulations. This is how your data gets turned into profit. This is how your behavior gets profiled. And this is how attackers get root access to your biological operating system. So you're no longer just the user, you're the infrastructure and the endpoint. Every single system in your body, neurological, emotional, chemical, metabolic, is now a potential exploit vector. Let's stop asking if someone might hack your biology and start talking about how they already are. Because the truth is, we didn't get breached through some dramatic cyber war moment. We got breached by signing terms and conditions we didn't read. All they need you to do is click I agree. So let's map out what that actually looks like. DNA data leaks. Your raw genome gets stored, sold, and shared with law enforcement or insurers. Once leaked, your genetic source code becomes a permanent, traceable vulnerability. You can't change it. Emotional malware. Platforms can use your engagement history to feed you curated content that shifts your mood, beliefs, and even physical state. Your brain runs on inputs. If you can hijack the inputs, you hijack the user. Your biology can also be used against you in a nutritional arms race. Ozempic suppresses hunger, but big food is building new formulas to override it. So corporations engineering food is an exploit payload, rewriting your biological willpower. There's biometric surveillance, your gait, your face, your typing cadence. They're all tracked to score your trustworthiness. You're being profiled as a system object, not a person. There's also predictive discrimination. Insurers and advertisers quietly using your health signals to shape prices, eligibility, and exposure. Your life is being modeled and monetized without your knowledge, and there's no appeal available. And here's the worst part. None of this required someone to hack you in the traditional sense. It happened because we volunteered. We handed over our source code. We plugged in our devices, and we trained the algorithm on our own behavior. So that's the modern threat model. If you're still thinking that cybersecurity is just something that happens to your laptop, you're missing the bigger picture. The network includes you now, and you're already online. You know what happens when someone leaks a password? You change it. So what happens when someone leaks your DNA? You can't. There is no reset button for your genome. So when 23andMe got breached in 2023, exposing nearly 7 million users' genetic profiles, ethnicity markers, and health data, that was already a catastrophic privacy failure. But what came next made it even worse. The company filed for bankruptcy, and that's when the real nightmare starts. Because here's what most people don't realize. In bankruptcy court, everything a company owns gets reassessed as an asset. Not just the desks, the trademarks, or the office leases, the data. Especially the data. That includes entire databases of genetic information, the raw DNA files, the ancestry maps, the health risk profiles, even the behavioral markers embedded in their algorithms. It all gets wrapped into what lawyers call intellectual property or consumer data assets. And those assets, they're now up for sale to the highest bidder, with zero obligation to inform you or get your consent. Your genetic code, arguably the most intimate, permanent form of personal information that even exists, can be auctioned off like leftover furniture, sold to private equity firms, research conglomerates, data brokers, even international buyers. Once that transaction happens, you lose all control. There's no notification, and you don't get any say. And you sure as hell don't get a rollback. This is the legal system doing exactly what it was designed to do: liquidate assets to pay off debt. And your DNA is one of the most valuable assets on the table. And here's the worst case scenario, the one that we never talk about enough. A buyer scoops up that database and starts building predictive health models, flagging users as high risk for chronic illness, addiction, or cognitive decline. That data quietly makes its way to insurers, employers, and financial firms who use it to shape risk scores, deny coverage, or adjust premiums without ever telling you why. Someone cross-references your genome with public genealogy records and links you to a relative under investigation. Suddenly, you're in a law enforcement database through no action of your own. A foreign entity or surveillance contractor acquires access to a dataset containing markers for mental illness, aggression, or susceptibility to addiction, and it uses it to train targeting algorithms. Then a biotech firm uses your raw data to develop a drug, patents the outcome, and profits off of your genome with no compensation, recognition, or control on your end. And let's be clear, this is already happening in fragments. What bankruptcy does is open the floodgates and remove the last layers of protection. This is why it's not enough to secure genetic data when a company is solvent. We need laws that travel with the data even after a company collapses. Because if your DNA is treated like inventory, your body becomes a product line. Your DNA is a zero-day forever. In software, a zero-day is a flaw no one knows about until it's exploited. In bio-cybersecurity, your genome is a pre-installed zero-day. Once it's digitized by a lab, a health app, a fun little ancestry service, it becomes a permanent identifier that tracks you across systems, a predictive blueprint for everything from health risks to personality traits, a shared fingerprint that exposes your family tree even if they've never consented, a commodified asset traded between researchers, insurers, and advertisers, and in the wrong hands, a targeting vector for biological blackmail, discrimination, or even worse. And if you think data anonymization protects you, it doesn't. Researchers have already shown that most DNA can be re-identified by combining genetic markers with public genealogy records and a bit of metadata. Even if your name is stripped, your genome still acts like a GPS tracker pointing right back to you and your relatives. This is why deleting your genetic data is so urgent. And then there's weaponized DNA. Yes, this actually happened. In 2017, researchers at the University of Washington embedded malicious code into a strand of synthetic DNA. When that DNA was sequenced, the code executed on the lab computer and took control of the system. DNA carried malware. The computer read it and got pwned. That's the digital bio-crossover nightmare in full color. Genetic material as an exploit payload, your bloodline as a backdoor. Now scale that out. Imagine a bad actor poisons a genomic data set or smuggles tainted DNA into a research pipeline. What happens when those sequencers are used to train AI models, build pharmaceuticals, or diagnose patients? Now you've got weaponized biology running on cloud-connected infrastructure, and most of these systems aren't air-gapped or secured. So yeah, your genome is definitely a target. Not just for hackers, it's for adversaries, surveillance states, data brokers, and biotech firms who see your body as an unclaimed asset. This is why DNA can't be treated like cute ancestry data anymore. It's code, it's dangerous, and once it leaks, it is everyone's problem. Here's how to build a firewall around your flesh. You can't opt out of being biological, but you can stop being an easy read. If your body is a system, and it is, then it needs what every vulnerable system needs, a firewall. Something to define what gets in, what runs, and what gets shut down on site. This is a posture or a mindset built around layered defense, a refusal to let your code be open source to anyone with a login screen or a marketing budget. So let's break it down. Secure the source code, aka your DNA. Your genome is not a party trick. It's not a parlor game, and it sure as hell isn't a freebie for data-hungry startups wrapped in ancestry curiosity. If you've sent spit to a company like 23andMe, you've already uploaded your biological root directory to the cloud. That data is now floating in datasets sold to researchers, shared with insurers, and stored in cloud servers that, as we've seen, do get breached. Want to start protecting that source code? Stop submitting your DNA unless you understand exactly what's being done with it. Request deletion from any service that you've used in the past. Yes, even if they say your data is anonymized. Use burner emails and aliases for health tech and wearable platforms. And never connect your fitness tracker or menstrual app to anything that stores identifiable data. DNA is permanent. It can't be revoked. And once it's out, it's not just your exposure, it's a key to your relatives' data too. Treat it like the most sensitive credential you'll ever have, because it is. Harden the operating system, which is your cognition. Your nervous system is an open API. Every ping, every ad, alert, headline, and notification is a line of code trying to execute. So start defending like it actually matters. Curate your inputs. Use browser extensions like uBlock Origin, grayscale mode, and newsfeed blockers. Keep logs. Track what things changed your mood, what triggered your scrolling, what made you react, and watch the install pipeline. What apps are running scripts in the background? What notifications are pulling you into loops? Train your algorithm with purpose. Every single click is a vote for the future that you want, so use mindfulness as a literal pause function. Emotions aren't soft. They're executable code running across every system. Hormonal, behavioral, neurological. If you don't audit them, someone else will. Control third-party code. That means what you consume. Everything you eat, drink, and ingest is software. Not metaphorically, but biochemically. So start asking, who wrote this code? What system is it designed to influence? Is this a patch or a payload? Most of the supermarket isn't food. It's behavioral engineering built by labs and neurochemists to drive consumption loops that feel like choice but run addiction. Obfuscate your identity perimeter. You're not just leaking data, you're leaking patterns. And the systems reading those patterns are getting smarter, faster, and harder to spot. They're profiling your eye movement, your walking cadence, your typing rhythm, your emotional tone on Zoom calls, your listening habits on Spotify, basically your entire behavioral stack. This isn't surveillance in the old sense. This is profiling at the behavioral level, used to build models that know you better than you know yourself. So disrupt it. Use multiple emails, rotate usernames, break your digital routines, vary your behaviors, cover your cameras up, obfuscate your browser fingerprint. Default to unpredictability, not invisibility. The goal isn't to disappear from the internet forever, it's to become unreadable. This is your perimeter and it is yours to define. This isn't about protecting your data. This is about protecting your system. Because the moment you handed over your DNA, your attention span, your sleep cycles, and your biometrics to a dozen connected platforms, you stopped being just a user. You became the infrastructure. You're not outside the system looking in. You are the system, being read, modeled, and modified in real time. And if you're not managing that architecture, someone else will. That means thinking like a sysadmin. Who has access to you? What's running on startup? Where are you leaking signal through your habits, your apps, or your language? What behavior patterns are so consistent they've become exploitable? This is the real shift. This is how you become unreadable, unpredictable, and unprofitable. It's about knowing where your logic is being outsourced and reclaiming it. So treat your routines like scripts, your triggers like inputs, your decisions like code. Change what runs by default. Log everything, patch constantly, run clean. You don't need to disappear. You just need to stop being so legible. Because once you understand that every part of you, your biology, your emotions, your metadata, is being read like a system, you stop being a target and start becoming the architect. This is just the beginning. If you want to go deeper, get the receipts, guides, and the complete history and resistance playbook, join the Cyber Resistance Club. I publish books every week that help us take on the tech overlords and reclaim control. So if you found this valuable, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I drop new videos every Sunday, so join the resistance and stay ahead of the code.